It's been over a week since many of us awoke to a headline that made us stop in our tracks. Pope Francis has died. Now, whether you're Catholic, belong to another faith, or simply appreciate spiritual leadership, this news carries a weight that's hard to describe. As older adults, we've lived through many papacies, from John the 23rd to Benedict the 16th. But Pope Francis felt different. He was modern, humble, deeply human. He led with kindness, walked gently, and always spoke to the heart of the ordinary person. This video isn't about doctrine. It's not about church politics. It's about what moments like this stir in us: reflection, memory, emotion, and perhaps a renewed sense of legacy. So, let's take 10 quiet minutes to explore what the passing of Pope Francis might mean to us as elders, as thinkers, as spiritual people, wherever we may stand today. Jorge Mario Bergoglio was born in Buenos Aires in 1936. He trained as a chemist before becoming a priest. He lived through dictatorship, loss, and illness long before he ever wore the papal white. And maybe that's why he never seemed out of touch. He was elected in 2013, not as a power player, but as a surprise choice. The first pope from Latin America, the first Jesuit, the first to take the name Francis, in honor of the gentle saint who loved the poor and all of God's creatures. But his papacy wasn't about grand gestures. It was about small, consistent, meaningful acts. He lived in a simple guest house rather than the papal palace. He carried his own briefcase. He called people directly who had written him letters. For many of us raised in more formal, hierarchical eras of religion, this was striking. This wasn't just a man preaching about humility. This was someone living it. Many of us, particularly in our senior years, long for clarity, for words that don't talk down to us or go over our heads. Pope Francis spoke plainly, not simplistically, but with a directness that felt respectful. He addressed difficult issues: abuse within the church, same-sex relationships, economic inequality, environmental destruction. He didn't pretend everything was fine. He admitted when he made mistakes. He even said, "Who am I to judge?" A line that made headlines, but more importantly, opened hearts. To older generations who've witnessed decades of social change, some of it uncomfortable, it was grounding to see a global spiritual leader choose inclusion over rigidity. He reminded us that aging doesn't mean closing our minds. It can mean expanding our compassion. Perhaps you, like me, were surprised to feel so connected to a man we never met. But connection doesn't always require proximity. It requires authenticity. Now that Pope Francis has passed, we may find ourselves asking, what happens next? Will the church carry his gentle spirit forward or retreat into the past? But even more than that, we may be asking, what does this stir in me? For those of us in our 60s, 70s, 80s, or beyond, loss is not unfamiliar. We've said goodbye to loved ones. We've buried friends. We've let go of careers, homes, sometimes even our own sense of place. When a figure like Pope Francis dies, it's not just about the church. It's about the reminder that no leader is forever. That every life, no matter how global or grand, comes to an end. But endings do not mean erasure. Legacy is what remains when the voice has gone silent. Francis's legacy of mercy, of modesty, of walking beside rather than above others, lives on in every small act of kindness. And as older adults, perhaps we now carry that torch, quietly, steadily, with grace. One of the most beautiful things about Pope Francis is that he was never afraid to show the toll age took on him. His limp, his wheelchair, his breathlessness at times. He didn't hide these things. Instead, he continued to serve, to travel, to preach, to lead. He did not pretend to be ageless. He showed us that purpose doesn't retire. For those of us who have felt sidelined by our years, he was a living reminder that wisdom doesn't wrinkle, it deepens. And legacy doesn't depend on energy or eloquence. It depends on heart, on consistency, on showing up with compassion even when it hurts. He was the elder who showed us what it means to lead with age, not in spite of it. If you're still watching, I invite you to pause with me. Take a deep breath. Let us reflect, not only on the passing of Pope Francis, but on the spiritual lives we ourselves are living. Are we choosing kindness even when it's inconvenient? Are we forgiving, especially when it's hard? Are we taking time to listen, not just to the news, but to the people in our homes, our communities, our memories? Pope Francis didn't solve every problem, but he opened the door to deeper conversations about healing, justice, and gentleness. In your own life, in your own family, perhaps you can do the same. So I ask, what will you be remembered for? Not how many things you owned, not the titles you held, but the tone of your voice, the calm of your presence, the love you shared. We're going to close this video with a 1-minute silence to honor his legacy and to quietly reflect on the kind of lives we are choosing to lead. Thank you for taking this moment with me. If Pope Francis touched your life in some way, through a quote, a gesture, a moment, feel free to share it in the comments. Complete the sentence. Pope Francis reminded me. I'll be reading all the comments. And if this reflection brought you comfort, I invite you to like and subscribe. Here on Elderly Lessons, we believe it's never too late to pause, to grow, or to love more deeply. Until next time, take care of your body, your soul, and the small, meaningful things you do each day. Because in the end, those are the things that truly live on.